Good day, panelists. I am Crispin Pelpinosas Jr., a junior high school mathematics teacher applicant. This time, I am going to have my skills demonstration for journalizing entries for bookkeeping. Now, I have already shared to you my screen. I have now the mega creation chart of accounts and the transaction statements below. And I have also prepared the partial part of the journalizing, and I hope so I can finish the journalizing for the entire 10 minutes. So let's start. So for the first transaction, we have June 1, marked hands invested 58,000 pesos. Based on our chart of accounts, we have to record debit entry cash, and our credit entry has to be hands capital. For our reason is to record investment with our debit and credit amount of 58,000 pesos. Next transaction, we have Mega Creations bought computer equipment for 18,500, and our chart of accounts has to record debit entry for equipment and then credit entry for cash, and it has purpose of the record payment for computer equipment, and the credit amount has to be 18,500. Next, the second transaction for the same date, June 2, bought merchandise on account from Singapore supplier, 25,000 pesos with the terms 2/10 and n/30. So we have now our debit entry has to be purchases and our credit entry has to be accounts payable, with the reason to record purchases on account from Singapore supplier, with our debit and credit entry amount of 25,000 pesos. Next, June 3 transaction, we have bought office supplies on cash basis from National Bookstore worth 750 pesos. So since we bought office supplies, therefore we have to record debit entry office supplies, and our credit entry has to be cash. The record payment for office supplies, and our debit and credit amount has to be 750 pesos. Next, we have June 4, sold merchandise on account for amount of 32,000 pesos to FOB destination with the terms 2/10 and n/30. So we have now our debit entry has to be accounts receivable, and our credit entry has to be sales. To record sales and account for FOB destination with a debit and credit amount of 32,000 pesos. Next, for our June 5 transaction, paid on June 4 sale for 500 pesos. So you are paying for the delivery of your sale. So that has to go with our debit entry with freight out. For our credit entry has to be cash. The record payment for freight out, and we have our debit and credit amount of 500 pesos. Next, for June 6 transaction, we have received credit from Singapore supplier for worth of 850 pesos. Then we have to record for our debit entry, that is accounts payable, and our credit entry has to be purchase returns and allowances. The record received credit with an amount of 850 pesos for debit and credit amount. Next transaction, we have June 11, paid to Singapore supplier. So this time you are paying now your accounts payable. So your debit entry has to be accounts payable. And then our credit entry has to be cash. And then since you are paying within the time span, so you will receive a purchase discount of 2%. So instead of 25,000 pesos, since you received a credit of 850 pesos last June 6, so it will be deducted to your 25,000 pesos. So your accounts payable is supposed to be 24,150 pesos, but then you receive a purchase discount of 2%. So 2% of 24,150 would be 483, and 483 deducted to 24,150, you are going to pay 23,667 pesos only. Next transaction, June 13, collected from June 4 customer. This time, those who purchases you to your company and account will have to pay their accounts payable. So the debit entry would be cash. You receive cash, and then same thing as what we have in June 11. You're also going to give a discount to your